vulnerability isn't something I think that you ever get better at. I don't think it's something that you ever feel more comfortable with because then it's not really vulnerable. I just had this thought of like, why do I have this sense that I need to respond perfectly? And that's really what today's episode is about. Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast, where we talk about manifestation, money, and practical guidance to creating your dream reality. My name is Amy Van Meel, and I am an experienced coach and transformation guide, obsessed with helping you get out of your own way and create a life that blows your mind each day you wake up. My goal in this podcast is to share practical manifestation, self-awareness, and growth techniques in real talk conversations. So if you're ready to massively transform your reality, your finances, your relationships, and your overall enjoyment of life, you are in the right place. I am absolutely delighted that you're here with me today, babe. Let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Manifesting Millions podcast. Today is an episode, it's for the connections that we have. I'm going to just dive into it. I'm feeling very emotionally raw and vulnerable at this particular stage of my life. Yay! Um, and I just had this awareness that I wanted to sit down and record for you all today. So, um, as I said, I've been going through a really tough time, um, which has been leaving me feeling obviously very, maybe not obviously, but very vulnerable, very alone, um, lots of fear um, related to some specific things that I've been experiencing. And something that I noticed is that I've been part of this like weird space, and it's going to be deliberately vague today because today is not about this particular topic of like what I'm going through, but more related to the connections as we're going through things. Um, it's been a space of feeling incredibly, incredibly alone. I have some really amazing women in my life. I have a truly exceptionally amazing husband. Um, I know how to ask for support. I know there is support, and still I have been drawing in and closing myself off and away from it because I just I don't know. I don't know why because it's just like this really weird space. And after going through a very, very dark, extremely low, like lower than I think I've felt before, um, moment, I suppose, for lack of a better description, a few days ago, as I started to come back out of it and started to feel more like myself again, um, I made the intentional choice to reach out to a friend, um, and share some of what I've been going through, even though I felt so afraid to do so. Um, because being vulnerable, I think it always sucks. Frankly, I don't think we ever are like, yay, vulnerability is awesome. I think it always sucks. It doesn't matter how much practice we have with it. Um, there's going to be lots of ums today. You're welcome. It's it's a difficult space because like vulnerability isn't something I think that you ever get better at. I don't think it's something that you ever feel more comfortable with because then it's not really vulnerable, if that makes sense. Like if you have really armored up in your life and something as simple as like asking someone to open the door feels really vulnerable to you, over time, that particular experience maybe will feel easier, where you're more able to ask for help or more able to have someone hold the door for you. But there will be a different space of vulnerability. And I think that oh, as we, I don't know, develop the skills, I guess, of communicating, I think that we are just going to find new levels of vulnerability. So I reached out to this friend, did it over text so that I could take my time, structure my words, choose my words intentionally, just to share a little bit of what I have been going through and some of what I've noticed and some of what I've been learning. And this is a friend I've had for a long time, and I have the deepest love and admiration and respect and honoring for this friend. And they responded back with a series of audio messages. And this is how we chat. We don't live in the same city, so this is how we connect is through you know just text messages and voice messages and pictures, and like it's a really beautiful friendship. But like sometimes it sucks not being somewhere where I can just walk over to their house and we can just sit down and have a night together. The point is this: as my friend was sharing beautifully and vulnerably and messily in their messages, it really, there's a larger part of me, or a separate part of me, I suppose, that was reflecting on this and thinking about how I've supported others in the past. I have a different friend, long, long, long friend in my life, and her mom passed away a few years ago now, and I to this day have felt like I should have been a better friend in that space of loss and grief. And even to this day, I still don't know how I would have been a different friend, because I honestly, I had no idea how to support someone who had lost a pivotal person in their life, and for that person to be a parent so young. I had no idea how to handle that. And it wasn't about that I had to handle it differently or that I needed to be better or anything like that. But I was reflecting on that experience as I was listening to this other friend share. And then as I got up and moved on, I just had this thought of like, why do I have this sense that I need to respond perfectly? And that's really what today's episode is about. Hey, babe, are you enjoying these conversations and wanting just a little bit more? Then you'll love my email newsletter, Insights. Inside each Insights email, I share the latest transmissions and some of my deepest thoughts, the kinds of ideas and breakthroughs that I just don't post anywhere else. These emails have practical and actionable shifts that you can make right away to transform your life one step at a time. No fluff, just real, honest insights that make a difference. Plus, as an Insights subscriber, you'll get early access to my newest offers and services before anyone else even hears about them. If you're ready to go deeper, to make a real change, and to be the first to know what's next, then sign up for Insights today. Click the link in the show notes or head to amyvanmeel.com/insights. Don't miss out, babe. Join my email community and start receiving your regular dose of inspiration directly from me. Head on over to amyvanmeel.com/insights. Here's my suspicion. I think that TV, and by that I mean like movies, television shows, all the things, I think TV has done us an enormous disservice when it comes to vulnerability and emotionally reaching out. Um, and here's what I mean by that, because of course we could blame TV on all kinds of things, but like we watch TV for entertainment, right? Like we're also learning from it. And actually, something that has really stood out to me over the last 6 months or so, is like just how, um, interestingly the things that we see modeled on television or in books or like in things that we're taking in as entertainment, how much they inform and influence our behavior and our thoughts and our ways of being in our lives. And probably not everybody is aware of that. And maybe by my sharing this, it's going to make this a bit more candid and like put it in your face. And you might go, oh my God, I did not realize that's where I learned that from. To give you a very like super almost pithy kind of example, I started watching the original Sex and the City. I feel like that's weird to say the original, but there is like the new reboot now called And Just Like That. But I started watching the original one again. I'd seen it years ago, a few months ago. And I was about, I don't know, four-ish, five-ish episodes in. I can't remember exactly. And I don't even know if I started at season one. It doesn't matter when I realized that I was having these like really strange kind of thoughts pop into my brain, thinking of like, oh, should I have married someone who was wealthier? Should I have, like focused my pursuit of love as like finding this like rich business guy? How would my life be different? And the moment that those thoughts like moved across my brain and I became aware of them like, "Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So we're not watching this show anymore." Because the last time I watched it, I think I was single. Like I think it was like long before I met my husband. I didn't watch it when it first was on TV. I think I was a single adult. So and I would have been in my 20s because I met my husband when I was 29, just barely 29 is when we met. So very different space that I'm in today. But anyway, I just say that to highlight that like it's amazing how something simple that we watch for entertainment can change, um, can really start to alter how we interact with people. So coming back to talking about friendships and that space of vulnerability, I found myself reflecting on this back and forth conversation of incredibly vulnerable shares that my friend and I were going through, and then thinking about my friend who had lost her mom and how I felt like I hadn't done a good job being a good friend at that time. And then I had this thought of like, why do I think I'm supposed to, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to know the right thing? And it occurred to me that when we watch movies and TV shows and we see these and TV is getting better at it. They are doing a better job of like being a little bit more kind of realistic, I suppose, considering that it is like an entertainment thing. They're getting better at showing these moments of vulnerability and also, and I realize that this is so obvious, it almost doesn't need to be said, but it feels that it does need to be said because otherwise, like, it wouldn't have come across my brain. And I'm just, it's my podcast. So I'm going to tell you what's going across my brain and trusting that it's going to connect with you. But I had this moment of realization of, well, because we don't observe other people who are completely non-attached to us having deeply vulnerable emotional conversations. That doesn't happen. It's just, and it's not going to unless you have like some weird peephole into somebody's house, right? Like that's just never going to happen. So TV is really kind of the only way that we have some kind of peek into, well, how could I respond? How would I model this conversation? What would I say? The problem is, and if it hasn't occurred to you yet, I'm about to make it super fucking obvious for you. The problem is that TV and movies are scripted. Somebody, and in all likelihood, a number of somebodies have sat down, written out the scene, written down the words, reflected on the words, edited them, adjusted them, had conversations about, well, how could we say this better? And what is the outcome that we want this particular set of words to have? And then, of course, laying that into character development. But because that's the only kind of example that we can look at for, what could it look like to be vulnerable and what could I say? Well, it stands to reason, of course, that we are learning from those moments. So as I was thinking about this and thinking about my friends, and these conversations. And let me tell you, I am so unbelievably grateful that I have people in my life, friendships in my life, relationships in my life who are brave and willing to be vulnerable and fucking messy and just say, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know how I'm going to say the words. I don't know how this is going to land. I'm going to do my best to be loving and clear and kind, and I might fuck it all up in the process. That is truly one of the most amazing gifts that we can offer one another. I think it's a very, very special place. And I hope for all of you listening that you have someone in your life that you have that space of connection with. And I know so often I found myself like I'll hear someone talk about, they were best friends since high school and we've done everything together and we finish each other's sentences and we know what each other is thinking, and having these moments of feeling jealous and envious of like, man, I would really love to have that. And I don't have that in that way. Um and that's okay. And it's so interesting that I have to say, and that's okay, right? Like I have to qualify. Well, of course it's okay. Fuck that shit. There's a part of me, obviously, that thinks that would be lovely to have in my life. And also, I can't go backwards. I can't go back to like being 14 and like somehow try to manufacture my life in a different way so that I make sure I have these specific friends, right? So that's just never going to happen. And that is what we call life. I digress. Thinking about the friendships and the relationships that I have, I really hope, and my wish for each of you is that you have someone in your life that is willing to be open and risk vulnerability and willing to be fucking brave and share with you when they're going through some really hard times. And I hope that you have the courage to respond in kind, to also be brave and vulnerable and willing to risk the fears and all the doubts and all the crap that shows up in our life so that you can share as well. It's been a very, very interesting time in my life. The last 18 months, for sure. The last 3 years, definitely. And I think there's a lot of good coming out of it. And fuck, I wish I knew how it was all going to end at some point because, man, being in the middle of the story is sometimes like, but what happens next? And I can't skip to the end. Can't go to the last chapter and go, okay, so like, do they end up happily ever after? Not that I've ever done that in a book, but like, that's not a thing, right? I can't do that. It's life. It will only unfold one day at a time, one moment at a time, and that's just the thing that we signed up for when we put our beautiful cosmic souls into these physical butt-like forms to say, here we are. Let's try this again. Anyway, so I will share more about that at some point when it feels right, when I feel a bit more clarity on it. Two things that I want to leave you with today. One is to really encourage you if you here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to say this as the encouragement, but like the challenge with having and building friendships where you can be vulnerable is that somebody has to take the first step. And like I said, it never gets easier, okay? It just there as you build a history with this person, you will know first of all if when I say whether or not, if your answer is they are the or not variety, meaning they are not going to be supportive and able to hold space and witness me and not like make it all about themselves or get judgy or whatever, then like that's not your person to be vulnerable with, okay? Because like there are some baseline foundational things that need to exist, and one of those things really is that it cannot be a one-upping, and it cannot be that like you have to qualify. They can't get insulted every time when you're upset. Like there has to be some safety in that space of connection. Otherwise, it's just I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist, but like it's not going to work. Okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. So, in order to build that relationship, you're going to both of you together are going to need to take these kind of scary steps in being vulnerable with one another, and maybe you don't start with like, here's the worst thing that ever happened to me. Maybe it starts with like, I've had a really bad day, or I'm, feeling really low or whatever, and then see how that responds. And this relationship, like with this particular friend who I was messaging with earlier today, that is how our relationship has evolved. It didn't start with like all the deep things, but I do think there was a soul recognition across the two of us, um, a sense of knowing that each of these souls in this human iteration have gone through some really heavy, hard times. And here's what I'm going to say to those of you who have gone through some really heavy, hard times. For the most part, okay? And this is, if you haven't, please do not get all like feeling like you're being judged here. For the most part, people who have gone through some tough fucking shit, and I don't care what that looks like for you as it relates to this point that I am making, people who have gone through some really hard stuff have a different energy about them. And it is an energy of groundedness. It is an energy of, it's almost hard to quantify and put into words, but like this different way of relating to life. You'll know it when you see it. I mean, it's like I said, it's kind of hard to explain, but you'll know it when you see it. And I recognize that in this friend. And over the years, our friendship has become really quite beautiful and deep and wonderful and supportive. And still, we are, regularly risking our own, I don't know, armor, I guess, in the spirit of being vulnerable and reaching out and connecting. And that continues to deepen and build the friendship. But like, OMG, it is not easy. So, I lost my train of thought slightly, but like, so yeah, I think the first two things I want to leave you with, the first being, I really wish for you that you have someone in your life like that, and encourage you that if you don't, or if you feel like there's a relationship that could go in that way, to be willing to be brave and to move from a place of courage and love and take the first step and see how that is received. And know that it's not going to be perfect. Okay. That's sort of the whole point of this episode, which I feel like I've sort of blathered around in different circles. But the whole point of this episode is it's not going to be perfect. It cannot be scripted because that's not how life works. You're going to do it wrong. They're going to hear it wrong. It's going to be received wrong. It's someone's going to have to clarify. There might be hurt feelings. I don't know. It's going to be all the things. You're not going to say the right thing. You're going to say the right thing. You're going to feel like you failed on every possible level. And then you're going to feel like, okay, I know I'm a really good friend. It's going to be all of the things, and it's going to happen over time. And you can feel, and you will feel all of the things all with the same friend. Okay? And it will apply to every relationship that you have, because that's just how it works. But just, I suppose, to put a fine point on it, to give yourself grace and space to not do it perfectly, because it's not scripted. The second thing that I want to leave you with today, I've created a free download for all of you on the perimenopause journey. This is I think I'm going to be talking more about this. I'm thinking about seeing if I can invite on some guests to talk about this more specifically. I know that for sure we talk about perimenopause now more than ever before at any moment in time in history, and I'm so fucking grateful for that. And also, it is still not nearly enough because OMG, did you know that like itchy ears is a symptom of perimenopause? There's, I believe the list is 34 things currently that are symptoms of perimenopause. I'm going to talk about that, like I said, probably on a different episode or a series of episodes or something. But like one of them was itchy ears. And I'm like, who would even think that like that has something to do as a signal that your body is going through a transition? I straight up thought, I'm like, it must just be that I've had my headphones on too long, or that I don't like the AirPods, or I don't know. Like we can come up with 1,000 reasons why, something is not related to something else. So I'm going to be talking about that more. But one of the things that I've really noticed as part of my own journey, specifically when it comes to reality creation and manifestation, is that one of the biggest teachings that is out there in all of the common, like super well known manifestation teachers' teachings, that feels like a weird way to say it, but I think you know what I mean, is talking about your energy and becoming energetically aligned with what you desire to create in your life. And here's what I want to say about that. While that is true, and I understand it, I get the principle, and I have seen that to be true in my life. I've created some really fucking amazing things and experiences in my life like built on that principle. What I want to say very clearly is that I think that when we get into the peri, it's a little bit like all bets are off. And not realizing that I've likely been in perimenopause myself, which, for those of you who know, and again, I'll dive into this further some other time, can be upwards of 10 years. It could be even longer than that. I did not realize, but I'm coming to the recognition that I think I've been in this like phase of my life for a year and a half, almost 2 years, based on some of the symptoms, and I'm starting to piece it together over time, and I'm like, oh, oh, okay, cool. And in that same amount of time, it's the time I have felt the most frustrated, the most challenged, the most defeated when it comes to creating the things that I want to in my life, and trying to be in this space of like energetically, living out, embodying, being as if this version of me of like that has the things has been such a fucking struggle. And it all really came to a head earlier this week. And again, that's a topic for a totally different episode. But what I realized was what came out of this like incredibly dark moment was a realization that so much of what I had been learning, the people that I've been learning from for years, the experts that I turn to when I'm trying to figure out like what is it that I'm not doing right, these are primarily women because I tend to gravitate towards women just in terms of how they approach life and everything. And no disrespect to the dudes, but the ladies, I don't know, that's just where I gravitate to. So, but what I recognized was all of them are younger than I am. And some by, like, I don't know, 10, 12 years, and they are in different stages of lives. They're in early motherhood, or, like they've been building their career since they were like 20, which is always super depressing, I feel like, when you're like, cool. So like the career I was building when I was 20 was design, and now I'm doing something totally different and like awesome, right? Like so it's a very different space. But what I recognized was, and I started doing some research. I'm like, there's nothing out there that talks about how to manifest while you're in perimenopause. And for those of you who are in the experience, that you're on the fucking rodeo ride with me, you know how kind of ridiculous the whole experience is. It doesn't make the manifestation principles that we've been taught wrong, but I think that to ignore the experience and the massive shifting that's happening physically and mentally and emotionally and honestly spiritually while we're going through the peri, and just say, well, you have to do this because this is how manifestation principles work, I think is a huge disservice to many millions of women around the world. Okay. If you are ovary bearing, you are going to be going through the peri at some point, or you'll for sure go through menopause. Okay. That again, whole other topic, because like you may not have perimenopause if you have a hysterectomy for some medical reason. But you will be going through menopause, and you still will go through a whole pile of like shifts and changes in your physical form, and those impact your mental and emotional and spiritual self as well. So, all that to say that I sat down and I created a guide, the Perry Person's Guide to Manifesting. And I take on specifically three key principles that I have found, at least for myself, have been the biggest challenge while I have been in this space of experiencing the peri and and trying to create what I want to see in my life. So the principle of consistent action, the principle of certainty, and the law of attraction energetic match principle. I talk about them. I give you guidance inside the guide. And I've made this guide available for you. I'll put the link in the show notes for sure, but it's amyvanmeel.com/the Peri guide, all one word. And it's PERI, so short for perimenopause. The guide it's totally free. You can go download it. It's not, I say this from the start in the guide. This is not a tried, tested, and true guide. Okay? I can't come to you and say, I've worked in this for like 10 years and I've tested this with like thousands of people because fuck, I'm just at the beginning of the journey myself. But I'm 2 years in and I'm going, wait a minute, something isn't right here. I think there's a different approach. So I encourage you to go get the guide. If you have friends who are in the peri, who are approaching the peri, and maybe they're like nearing the end of it. Thank Christ that happens at some point, because oh my God, I think if it was like, by the way, when we were like 11, 12, 14, and they're like, you're gonna have your period and you're gonna have it for like the next 30 or 40 years. I remember being like, oh, fuck. Okay, here we go. There was no getting away from it. But like if you said to me, hey, you're going to have this like really wild ride emotionally and mentally and physically where nobody's going to know what exactly is going to happen, but you're still expected to be fully functional, and that's going to happen for the next 40 or 50 years of your life, I might be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to get off this carousel right now. Like, let me out, point me to the exit door. I'm over it. So thankfully, even though it can be, upwards of 10 years, it doesn't have to be. But thankfully, there is a point at which we arrive to another side. There is a space after, and life becomes much different. And from the women that I've spoken to who are well past menopause, firmly in postmenopause, all of those symptoms have gone away, and they have fully transitioned into this new stage and phase of their life. All of them say it's the best thing that ever happened. So I'm hanging on to that with my fucking fingernails for now as I move through this. But I'd recommend the guide if that's something that interests you. If you feel like, you've been trying so hard to follow the manifestation principles, and some of this talks about like how we approach business as well. So business growth, that's one of the things where the consistency principle is big. I talk about that in the guide and share with you a few shifts and reframes and things that I'm testing and trialing myself right now that are flexing these principles to meet where I'm at in my life journey. So go download the guide, and if you do, or when you do, like send me an email or drop me a DM on Instagram. Let me know what you think. And please, if it resonates with you, even the tiniest little like micrometer of a moment, send the link to other friends for them to get the guide as well. And I say that specifically in that way. Of course, you can like just forward them the PDF, I suppose. But if you send them the link so they download their own guide, everybody who downloads that gets a little tag added on in my email subscriber list. And I'm going to explain to you why that is. This guide, I'm I'm intending that like as I learn and grow and as new things come to light, or as I go, oh, okay, so like this worked really well, but like when I did this, it worked really well, or whatever. It's like I said, this isn't a tried, tested, and true guide. This is a I'm on the journey with you, but here's what I suspect to be true. Let's give this a go. So as I make updates to it, I want to make sure that I'm reaching out to the people who've already downloaded it. And I do that through that tag so that I can reach out and say, hey, there's an updated version of it. Here it is, grab the fresh download, so that I'm endeavoring to consistently bring you some really great things. Okay, my loves, that's all I've got for today. No idea when this episode is actually going to land. I have a mountain of work in front of me. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I have not yet started on it because I've been doing other things so far today. So editing this is going to happen later. And you don't care because at the time that you're hearing this, it's already happened. And then it's in your hot little hands or your sweet little itchy ears, and you are already getting it. So that's what I want to say. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. For those of you who have been leaving reviews, thank you so much. If you have not yet left a podcast review, I would so appreciate it. Even if you leave a 1-star review, that's totally fine. I'm totally okay with that. She says as she cries in the corner. No, seriously, if you're leaving reviews in the podcast, I really appreciate it because it helps all the platforms know what is good and what is not good. And I'm hopeful that like this content that I've been putting together for you over the years has been good and has been helpful and has been resonating. So leaving reviews just helps get that out. And of course, text it on through. Say, hey, oh my gosh, there's this girl. Her name's Amy, and she kind of like blathers a lot, but she has some good shit to say. Check out this latest episode. That would also be really awesome. So thank you so much for everything, my loves. And here's to whatever is about to come next. Bye for now. Tell me if this resonates. You're a driven, high-performing professional. You've achieved some measure of success. But there's this knowing, this sense, this quiet calling from within that says there's more waiting for you. It might be in your career, it might be in your relationships, in your health, your personal fulfillment, but you just know that there's something more that you want to crack open, and you're just not sure how to get there. Imagine what could happen if you were to work with a coach who really listens deeply to what you're sharing, who sees your unique brilliance and reflects it back to you and helps you create expansion in every area of your life. Why my clients choose to work with me is many, many things. Among them being that I bring over 2 decades of experience investing in coaching and therapy and personal development so that you get to benefit from proven tools and deep wisdom. You will feel truly heard and understood, and this is something that my clients say over and over is one of the most profound and impactful parts of working together with me and is where their transformation really begins. I guide you to reframe your challenges, to unlock new possibilities, and to ultimately manifest the life that you are craving to live. My coaching isn't about giving answers. It is about asking the most powerful questions and sharing with you wisdom from living in the trenches so that you can discover your own truth, direction, and power. You can expect a very safe, confidential space with me. There's no judgment here, just support and insight and practical strategies tailored to you. Whether you want to advance in your career, find more joy in your day-to-day life, deepen your relationships, work on your health, our work together is personalized to your goals. This is not about quick fixes, my love. I am all about lasting change that feels authentic and empowering. Picture yourself 6 months after we work together, clear, confident, living a life that feels in alignment for you, that feels magical and powerful, and that you just wake up every day like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life. That's what we can accomplish together through the power of coaching rooted in empathy, experience, and the deep belief in your limitless potential. If you're ready to invest in yourself and create real, lasting expansion, it's time that we work together. This is your invitation to step into a bigger, more fulfilling life, no matter where you want to grow. To find out more, you can reach out to me by email, amy@daretobegin.net, or hit me up on the DMs on Instagram. If you're ready to say yes right now, then head on over to amyvanmeel.com/next level and secure your spot today. I'm so excited to work with you, my love. I can hardly wait to see what we create for you. Let's go. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform and help me reach more like-minded people who are ready to expand their life. If you haven't yet followed me on social media, find me on Instagram for extra love and inspiration by following @AmyVanMeel or visit my website at amyvanmeel.com. I love you so much, babe, and I am damn proud of you. I am already excited to connect in the next episode. And in the meantime, believe in yourself with the confidence of a 5-year-old.